This old, scratched 50-cent coin from Singapore looks like something you'd toss in a drawer and forget about. But one rare version has sold for thousands of dollars, and most people don't even realize they're holding it. Some of these coins look dull, faded, even damaged. But hidden in the small details, a tiny date, a slight design difference, a subtle minting mistake, could be a payday big enough to shock you. Before you spend that worthless 50-cent coin, you might want to take a second look. Take a close look at that 1976 50-cent coin from Singapore. At first glance, it doesn't look special at all. The color may be dull. The surface might be scratched. You might even see dark spots or what looks like corrosion around the edges. Most people see that and think one thing: damaged, worn out, spent. But here's the twist. Some 1976 50-cent coins that look exactly like that have quietly sold for hundreds, and in rare cases, even thousands of dollars. And the reason is hiding in plain sight. Back in 1976, Singapore was still a young nation building its identity, and its coinage carried strong national symbols. The 50-cent coin from that year features the Singapore coat of arms on one side, with a lion and tiger supporting a shield. On the other side, you'll see a beautiful design featuring a stylized seaport scene, a nod to Singapore's maritime strength. It's a coin many travelers brought home. Many Americans who served overseas or traveled in Asia during the 1970s tucked these into drawers as souvenirs. And today, they're sitting unnoticed in coin jars across the country. Now here's what makes certain 1976 50-cent coins valuable. First, condition matters, but not in the way you might think. Yes, bright, shiny, uncirculated coins can bring strong money. But surprisingly, even coins that look ugly can still carry serious value if they have the right features. One thing you want to look for immediately is sharp detail in the coat of arms. Even if the coin looks dark or dirty, examine the lion's mane and the tiger's stripes. If those details are still clearly visible and not completely smooth flat, you may have a higher grade piece hiding under that grime. Many collectors actually prefer original surfaces, even if they look aged, because cleaning can destroy value. So if your coin looks old and untouched, that's not necessarily bad news. That could actually be a plus. Next, check the edges carefully. Some 1976 coins were struck slightly off-center. If you notice the design shifted just a bit toward one side, leaving a thicker rim on one edge and a thinner rim on the opposite side, that's something collectors notice. Even a small off-center strike can increase value significantly. And the more dramatic the shift, while still showing the full date, the more desirable it becomes. Now here's another detail that most people completely overlook. Look closely at the date, 1976. On certain examples, the numbers appear slightly thicker or stronger than usual. On others, they may look faint or lightly struck. A weak strike, especially if the rest of the coin shows decent detail, can signal a minting variation. These subtle differences might not jump out at you unless you compare multiple coins side by side, but sharp-eyed collectors are willing to pay premiums for noticeable variations. Another clue hides in the surface texture. Some 1976 50-cent coins were struck with slightly different finishes. If you happen to find one with a more mirror-like surface, even if it's toned or lightly scratched, that could indicate a proof or specimen strike. Proof coins were usually made for collectors and not for circulation, and while many stayed protected in sets, some were removed and spent over the years. A proof coin that ended up in circulation can look worn, but under a light, you might still see reflective fields behind the design. That contrast between shiny background and frosted details is a major clue. And here's where things get interesting. There have been documented cases where minor minting errors on Singapore coins, including double strikes, slight die misalignments, and clipped planchets, have drawn strong collector interest internationally. Because Singapore coins are collected not just locally, but worldwide, error examples often command higher prices than regular circulation pieces. If your 1976 coin looks slightly crooked, if the lettering seems doubled, or if part of the edge looks clipped or uneven in a way that doesn't appear like normal damage, do not dismiss it. Damage from circulation usually looks random. Mint errors often look strangely precise. For example, if the lettering appears slightly shadowed in a consistent direction across the entire coin, that could suggest doubling during the striking process. If a section of the rim is missing in a smooth, curved shape rather than chipped or jagged, that might indicate a clipped planchet error. These kinds of mistakes happen rarely, but when they did, they slipped into circulation unnoticed, and decades later, they can become valuable treasures. Another overlooked factor is metal composition and weight. The standard 1976 50-cent coin has a specific weight. If you have a small digital scale at home and your coin weighs noticeably more or less than expected, that could signal something unusual. Even a small difference may attract interest, especially if paired with other odd features. Let's talk real numbers. A typical worn 1976 50-cent coin might only be worth face value in Singapore currency terms. But high-grade, uncirculated examples have sold for significant premiums, especially when graded by professional services. Error coins can multiply that value dramatically, and specimen or proof-like examples in excellent condition have been known to fetch hundreds of dollars. In rare cases involving dramatic mint errors or exceptional preservation, prices can climb far higher. Now imagine this scenario. You're sorting through an old box of keepsakes. You find a small pouch of foreign coins collected during a trip decades ago. Among them is that dull, scratched 1976 Singapore 50-cent piece. It doesn't shine. It doesn't sparkle. But under a simple desk lamp, you tilt it slightly and notice something unusual. The design seems just a bit off-center. The rim on one side looks thicker than the other. The coat of arms still shows crisp detail. And when you place it on a scale, the weight is just slightly outside normal range. That's the moment your ordinary coin becomes a question mark. And in coin collecting, a question mark can turn into a payday. The key message here is simple. Do not clean the coin. Cleaning can instantly reduce collector value, even if your intention is just to make it look better. That dark toning, those small surface marks, they are part of the coin's story. Collectors want originality. They want authenticity. A clean coin often looks unnatural and loses appeal fast. If you suspect you have something unusual, compare it carefully with standard images from reputable coin references. Look for differences in alignment, lettering sharpness, and overall strike quality. Even subtle variations can matter. What makes the 1976 issue particularly interesting is its age combined with international collector demand. Coins from the 1970s are now approaching 50 years old. As more collectors seek world coins from that era, demand steadily grows. And when supply of high-quality or unusual examples is limited, prices follow. So the next time you see a worn, scratched 1976 Singapore 50-cent coin, don't rush to dismiss it. Hold it under a light. Study the details. Examine the edges. Look at the date closely. Check for off-center strikes, doubling, unusual surfaces, or weight differences. That small piece of metal might be far more valuable than it appears. Because sometimes, the ugliest coin in the pile is the one worth the most.